And we are so excited because this is our inaugural ROSAmerica Speaks, and we are so excited to have our first guest. She is a retired Black educator from here in Arizona, and we're just so delighted to welcome you, Joyce Bailey. Thanks for agreeing to do this interview. She's led a fascinating life. We just took a tour of your neighborhood where you grew up, which is the Washington Escobedo historic neighborhood. At one time, it was a segregated neighborhood in Mesa, and you pointed out a few of the sites.
Right.
The landmarks.
Yes. For example, the church I grew up in, the school that was segregated, Booker T. Washington.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few homes left, but most of the homes are new.
Mm-hmm.
So it's changed a lot in the last few years, but.
And then you pointed out the Alston House. Do you want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, the Alston House is was the first. He was the first doctor, Black doctor, in the Mesa area, and so the house that he lived in was an old house upstairs level that he lived in. He had built, and everybody looked up to him.
But it was a segregated neighborhood? Was it considered?
Yes, it was a neighborhood where blacks were able to buy or build homes, because you couldn't buy or build a home in another neighborhood in Mesa. It wasn't allowed. So my dad built our house on the corner of Serine and 6th Street, and
That's great.
the house was built in 1947, so it's quite old. No, Mesa would not hire for African Americans, so.
And what was that like, to be told you're African American, so we're not going to hire you? In so many words.
I was very hurt because, first of all, I went to school. I went to segregated school to the 5th grade, and then I went to all Mesa public schools from 5th through 12th.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to ASU. So I did my student teaching at a Mesa school.
Wow.
So why can't I teach there? But
Do you remember where your student taught? Which is this? Franklin.
Yep.
So they let you student teach, but then when you were ready for a paid position, they said no.
Nope.
Wow.
Not gonna work.
And talk about who in your family attended college. You were the first generation? Is that how that worked?
My family?
Yeah.
Well, you said your dad went to...
Yeah.
My dad and mother only went to 7th grade.
Right. Wow.
And so my oldest sister, there were 4 daughters. We all graduated from ASU.
Wow.
But my uncle was the only one out of my mother's family that graduated from college.
Okay. So he paved the way. He was the trailblazer.
Yes. Yes, even before I went to college, my sister was in journalism. She was the editor of the ASU newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
She went all the way through, graduated, got her degree in journalism, and of course the newspaper said, "We're not ready for women, and we definitely aren't ready for black women." So she had to go back to school, get her education degree, and she taught school too.
And then
that wasn't what she wanted to do.
Yeah, boy.
So,
And then even at that, there's roadblocks.
Mm-hmm. So you taught classroom, but you also taught music, right?
I had a minor in music education. So I taught in the classroom for my first 30 years. Because you had to have a major to teach music. But see, I did a lot of music, even though I taught in the classroom. I did a lot of the programs, musical programs.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So when the first time I retired, my retirement was a family joke. When I retired the first time after 30 years, I went back when my mom got sick, and I decided that I wanted to do music because I like that kind of, programs and stuff. So I got a job at a charter school that said, well, we'll give you a job teaching whatever you made when you retired, we'll pay you that.
Wow.
Yeah. I had an offer I couldn't refuse. So
tell us about your kids. We know one of them.
Yeah.
That's how we came to meet you, which is Todd.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Todd's my
I'm
oldest.
just going to explain to our viewers that the way we met Todd is we do a lot of work with museums, and he works for the Arizona Historical Society at the Arizona Heritage Center at Papago Park.
Right.
So that's how we actually met Joyce, was through Todd. So she's going to say some things there.
Yeah. Todd was old. Todd was my oldest.
Okay.
And he was always the creative one.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know that I paid a lot of money for Todd to go to art school because he was always drawing all the time.
Yeah.
So he went to art school. I'll call it the School of Graphic Design.
Oh.
Well, you know what? Dancing got in the way. So that was the end of the art. Although he does have a lot of his work, but he doesn't do art anymore. And then 2 years later, I had my second son, whose name is Kerrick. It's spelled Kerric.
Kerrick.
And a lot of people put an E for that C. No, it's a C. Kerrick. And the reason why is because I was going to name him Derek, but a friend in the neighborhood had her baby before mine, and she named her child Derek.
No.
Well, so I was just happened to be watching one of the stories, the stories that used to come on. Well, they still come on, like the Bold and the Beautiful.
Those soap operas?
Soap operas.
Yeah.
I was
Lives for
watching
Tomorrow.
one of the soap operas, and somebody's name was Kerrick. So
There you go.
That's how he got his name.
And so he's 2 years younger than Todd.
Yes. Kerrick is, Kerrick graduated from ASU. Kerrick was my smart student.
Okay.
He was so smart, but he had no social skills.
Which Todd has in spades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Atlanta,
He has no, he married the first woman he met.
Oh. Are they
Don't
still?
you think he should date for a while?
Are they still together?
They are still together.
So, because our work is about training teachers and teaching U.S. history, what do you think is important about including what we call origin stories? The stories of Black Americans, the stories of Native Americans, the stories of Asian Americans, Latinx people, Hispanic Americans.
Well, I think in order to understand why some Black people feel the way they do, you have to at least know something about them to understand it. How are you going to understand how? I can't understand how Asian people live in China, and I've never been there, or I've never studied or learned anything about them. I think you have to have an understanding of people, and most people don't have that understanding, so therefore they don't know. How can you have empathy if you don't understand?
You had the opportunity to participate in a COVID memorial last year at the Capitol, as I understand, right?
Yes.
And you got to sing. So Joyce the Voice is one of your nicknames. And it's because of this music background that you have, and you've performed many times over the years. You can share a little bit about that too, but were there people you had in mind at the COVID memorial when you were singing? Were there people in your heart and mind that you were thinking
Well,
about?
my sister died of COVID, and
I'm sorry.
they were celebrating. They were remembering. Families were remembering those people that died of COVID. So My sister, my youngest sister, she had some other health issues, and so therefore when she got COVID, it took her 9 days and she was gone. Yeah.
Whoa.
And she was in Chandler Regional Hospital. I went in the hospital a couple of days after she did, and I was in Banner Desert.
With COVID also?
With COVID, yeah.
How long were you hospitalized?
I was in the hospital about 2 weeks, and then I went to rehab.
Did you have to go on a ventilator?
No, I didn't.
You said earlier about, if people don't have empathy, they don't understand the concerns or the things, that Black Americans deal with on a regular basis. How would you say teachers should be, trained, or what do teachers need to have empathy to pass that on to their students? Do you know what I mean?
Well, they need to see just how the things that hurt an African American when they're in school. Like, for example, when I went to all schools were mostly white children, and they would show movies all the time of Africans from Africa, half naked, wild, with, what did that have, number one, to do with us in America? And
What was
but the kids would laugh.
right?
They would laugh, and nobody really understood how that made. I wanted to hide.
It's very
I
demoralizing.
wanted to shrink.
What
and
were
hide.
they trying to teach with that film? I mean,
They were teaching African history, but they certainly weren't teaching American history about African Americans. And we weren't even called that then. We were called blacks. Well, we were called Negroes.
Right.
I just, I'd like to understand, in order for me to really understand how Hispanic Americans feel, I've got to know something about them. I don't know.
Yep.
I can't, I do understand, that makes me understand how some white people don't understand, because they don't know. They have to know in order to understand.
Has to be taught.
Yeah.
Has to be taught.
Would you sing for us? Just a couple bars.
Closing,
Please.
Amazing
Hope
Grace.
I don't cough.
Okay. just a quick chorus.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me, and like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Oh my God, I have chills.